Yeah, what do you think of the whole Bob Woodward debacle that's been going on with the tapes of Trump admitting COVID?
Yeah.
Seems like it devolved into a whole other discussion about, journalistic integrity and the ethics of releasing information versus waiting to drop it. Monetizing journalism essentially is the heart of the disagreement.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is how much the fact that like Bob Woodward sat on this
Yeah.
has kind of overshadowed the fact that like Trump just straight up admitted, yeah, dude, my political strategy is to downplay this while fucking 200,000 Americans
People
die.
die.
You know, he's
Yeah.
like, he was like, oh, yeah, well, a lot of people don't realize it. A lot of people don't realize 25, 30,000 people die from the flu. We're going to see this about 5 times higher, likely 5 times higher. Just like totally nonchalant. He's like, it's very bad. It's getting young people too. It's getting,
Yeah.
I don't know if you listened to the
Oh
recordings,
yeah.
but that was kind of, like,
It
it was
was
a very,
damning.
like, it was
Damaging.
very, also, it was so like colloquial and it would, Trump just
Yeah.
get like, it was like, you know how Trump is kind of like famous for saying the quiet part loud, like the Republican Party was known for dog whistle politics, and then Trump just came along and he was like, fuck Mexicans, like,
Yeah.
grab women by the, you know what I mean? Like, just
Yeah.
like, I feel like that's the kind of guy he is behind closed doors. He's just also a horrible, horrible sociopath. He's like, no, these are the cards and this is how I'm going to play it. Like, it was very like, like I don't want to call it like Machiavellian because that makes it too smart. Like, it's the obvious, like it's like the dumb person looking at their cards and being like, how do I get out of this? Oh, I'm just going to pretend
Yeah.
it's not happening.
You're so true, right? Because he looked at it and was like, "We need to preserve the stock market." That was his first instinct, was that the stock market needs to be saved, it needs to be buoyed essentially because this news. And now he's saying that, oh well, I did this because I didn't want people to panic, but in reality, it's because he didn't want the markets to panic. He didn't want that kind of crowd to go crazy and the stock market to tank, because obviously up until that point he had been building his entire re-election strategy on the strength of the economy. And that's what was so. I mean, people already seem to forget that, but yeah, Trump up until COVID was totally going to run on the fact that he had rebuilt the economy and all this stuff. Which
that's why it's fucking nothing to run on now. That's why
Exactly.
he's calling Joe Biden a fucking socialist. Like, obviously, like untrue things. Like, just
And
trying to
saying
rally
that
up his base
after-
with a bunch. Of,
like at the RNC when he was saying like, yeah, the economy, look how great it was before the coronavirus. We're going to build it back up to that point. That's pretty much they're still trying to go with the strategy, even with the economy in the state that it is, which is hilarious. The thing with Bob Woodward that is weird to me is just like, he's already probably the most famous journalist in the country. He must be extremely rich. It's like, did you really need to?
no, obviously not.
Wait.
And also, yeah, I don't know. I've never been like hugely like in awe of Bob Woodward. I'll be honest. Like, he was never one of the guys for me. So maybe that's why I'm more likely to be like tough on him. Like, obviously, Watergate was a huge story to break. All the president's men. Like, I get it. But for me personally, he was always just like never a guy that like I was like moved by his work or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think All the President's Men is certainly one of the like, fine. There's a reason it's one of the most enduring and popular pieces of like modern American journalism. I think his accomplishments are profound in the field, but
I mean, I don't want to underplay that. Like,
worship
obviously breaking that story, but I just mean like, I don't know. It seems like for me, I was like, it just kind of looks like a shitty move. Like, makes you look like a bad person. Like, I don't trust your journalistic ethics. Like, I don't know. Especially for somebody who has accomplished so much and who really could have used their position. Like, it kind of seemed like Trump was willing to play ball with him because of what he had accomplished. Like, Trump likes to be around people that he admires and that he knows. And he knows the name Bob Woodward. And you could tell when you were listening to the audio that, like, Trump was willing to, give him a little bit because he kind of, like, Trump admires, like,
Bob Woodward.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
actually,
he admired
this is
him.
the second book that Bob Woodward had written about the Trump administration. The first one, I believe, was called Rage. It came out, or maybe it was called Fear. I can't remember.
No, Fear was the first one. Rage is the second one.
Yeah, well, when Fear came out early in the Trump administration, apparently Donald Trump was actually annoyed and angry that Bob Woodward hadn't reached out to Trump. He was like, why didn't I get interviewed for this book? Because he felt snubbed by the fact that, Bob Woodward, the great esteemed journalist, hadn't even reached out to him for his book, in a way. I mean, he knew it was coming. I mean, Bob Woodward also did books about Obama and Bush, and he does one about all the presidents. So it's not like he was uniquely going after Donald Trump necessarily. So it's interesting that for this one, he did, get so many hours on, or I think it was like 18 different conversations they had or something. So Bob Woodward got extensive time talking to Donald Trump, and who knows what else is going to be in the book. It's not, I mean, it's definitely an interesting piece of journalism. It's just unfortunate that the fact that it was a public health issue. It wasn't just something that was inconsequential. This is something that could have saved lives, and it could have really triggered more people to start taking seriously the coronavirus if they had a tape of the president saying that yes, in fact, this is 5 times more deadly than the flu. People might have actually freaked out and taken it more seriously, put on a mask, stuff like that in the early days that would have prevented so many more deaths. So I do think it's unfortunate. That this great journalism is being obscured by this lack of ethics on Woodward's part, because I do think it's unexcusable.
Yeah, I mean, and also when you think about, the magnitude of the crisis of COVID-19, I mean, it's really hard to think about the fact that we're about to pass 200,000 deaths in this country. And we're also looking at to put that in comparison, like it was like slightly over 2,000 people died in 9/11. We've been at war for 20 fucking years.
I think it's like every week now there's like another 9/11 basically as far as fatalities. Fatalities. And
that is crazy. I mean, that is where it's like, I mean, that is why if it had been something that wasn't like a public health imperative, like if it had been like the Democrats bitching about something that would have helped Joe Biden win the election, but wasn't going to like put people in their graves, I wouldn't be coming for him. But I do think it's fucked up that he sat on that, and especially when he had it on recording. Like, and I don't think it would have, ruined his book sales at all. I mean, he's already going to sell 1 million copies because of his name. Like,
and
I don't know.
Who cares anyway? He's Bob Woodward. It's not like he's pretty old. Like, why do you need this much money? Like, calm down.
Yeah.
Like, why are you in this?
Yeah.
What is
exactly.
Your real, that's what the real, heart of the issue is. It's just, it kind of makes people question why you're in it to begin with. Because, when you're Bob Woodward and you have that much access to the president, you have a pretty cushy job. It's not like you're doing backpack journalism in Syria or something. You're talking to Donald Trump. You're talking to the president 18 times. This is like the highest echelon of journalism. So to then turn around and then not use that, privilege you have, that elite privilege you have as one of the most esteemed journalists to actually do anything good for the public. Because now everyone already knows the truth about coronavirus. Too little, too late, right? Everyone already knows the fact that it's spread by air and that it's more deadly than the flu. It was back in, February.
That was a February 17th call, I believe.
Yeah, and it is true that a lot of people, including our own government, were even saying, like, don't necessarily wear masks. It's more about, like, the surfaces instead of the air. There was so much misinformation out there about this. And I don't know, it just doesn't...
Dude, I had flown on an airplane on, like, the 15th of February. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, and then all the shutdowns happened. Like, at that point, people were still like, oh, what's going to happen with the coronavirus? There's like 3 people in San Diego with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or, oh, they've got those people in Seattle that came off the cruise ship, or, like that was the mindset around that time. And now that would have been crucial because everybody also thought, at that time, I thought that young people weren't getting it. And he explicitly in that phone call says that younger people are getting it and it's bad. Yep. And I think that you're right when you mention the fact that this is like cushy, high-level journalism, and I think it directly, you can juxtapose that so well with the treatment of somebody like Julian Assange, and you can kind of, okay, Julian Assange, maybe he's not a journalist, maybe he's just a publisher, fine, but either way, he should be protected by the First Amendment of the United States, and he's currently being persecuted, and his trial was this week it continues to unfold in Europe. Or, I mean, Europe, but in England and UK.